What if the phone stopped ringing? Forever. What if no one could reach you? Not your boss, not your family, not even yourself. In 1913, one of history's greatest minds did exactly that. He vanished from the world, and what he found in the silence changed psychology forever. His name was Carl Jung, and his disappearance is the key to understanding what happens to your mind the moment you become unreachable. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what happens in your brain in the first hour, the first day, and the first month of true disconnection. You'll learn Jung's forbidden experiment with his own unconscious, and the stone tower he built with his bare hands to escape the world. And by the end, you'll understand why disappearing, even for a weekend, might be the healthiest thing you ever do for your mind. Let's be honest. Right now, you are never truly alone. Your phone buzzes, messages pile up. Someone, somewhere, always expects a reply. We call this being available. But psychologists have a different word for it: chronic exposure. Your nervous system never gets to rest. Studies show the average person checks their phone over 90 times a day. Every check is a tiny interruption, and interruptions have a cost. That cost is focus, creativity, and, according to one man who lived a century ago, your connection to your own soul. That man was Carl Gustav Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist who believed the modern world was making people dangerously disconnected from themselves. But to understand his warning, we need to go back to the darkest, strangest period of his life, the years he called his confrontation with the unconscious. In 1913, Jung had everything: a thriving career, a mentor named Sigmund Freud, a wife, 6 children, and a beautiful home by a lake. Then suddenly, he broke away from Freud over a bitter disagreement and lost almost everything that gave his life structure. Without his mentor, his professional identity, or a map to follow, Jung fell into what he later described as a period of inner uncertainty. Instead of running from that void, Jung made a radical choice. He stopped being reachable. He withdrew from lectures, from colleagues, from the noise of the world. Every evening, alone in his study, he sat down and deliberately let his mind wander into the unknown, a practice he called active imagination. What emerged terrified him at first: strange visions, prophetic dreams, and voices that felt like they came from somewhere deep inside his own mind. For the next 16 years, Jung recorded these visions in a private journal, one he never intended the public to see. Today, we know it as the Red Book, a massive hand-illustrated manuscript filled with symbols, myths, and conversations with his own unconscious. It stayed locked in a bank vault for decades after his death, considered too personal, too strange, too dangerous to share. But here's the part that matters to you. Jung didn't fall apart in that isolation. He said it was the richest period of his entire life. Every theory he became famous for, the shadow, the collective unconscious, the process of individuation, was born in those years of silence. So what exactly did Jung discover about the human mind when he unplugged from everyone else? Let's break it down. First, the shadow. Jung believed everyone carries a hidden side of themselves, traits, desires, and fears they push out of conscious awareness. In everyday life, that shadow stays buried under constant noise, distraction, and other people's expectations of who you should be. But the moment you become unreachable, no notifications, no small talk, no performance for others, that shadow starts to surface. This is why silence can feel uncomfortable at first, even scary. You're not bored. You're meeting parts of yourself you've been avoiding. Jung called this the beginning of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming your whole, authentic self, shadow included. And according to Jung, individuation is almost impossible in constant connectivity because you're always reacting to others, never truly listening to yourself. Think about your own life for a second. When was the last time you were truly alone? No phone, no background noise, no one to answer to. If you can't remember, you're not alone in that either. Modern life is engineered to make solitude feel like an emergency. But Jung's own life is proof of the opposite. His deepest insights, his most original ideas, all came from time spent radically unreachable. And nowhere is that more visible than in the strange stone tower he built with his own hands on the shore of Lake Zurich. He called it Bollingen. No electricity, no running water, no telephone. By design. A place literally impossible to be reached. Jung carved stones by hand, cooked his own food over a fire, and spent hours simply sitting with his thoughts, uninterrupted. He once said, "At Bollingen, I am in the midst of my true life. I am most deeply myself." No phone ever rang there. This wasn't escapism. Jung saw it as essential maintenance, the same way you'd service a car engine before it breaks down. Modern research actually backs this up. Studies on solitude show that time spent alone, away from devices, restores attention and emotional regulation. One well-known study found that even 15 minutes without a phone, sitting quietly, measurably reduced stress hormones in the body. Another found that people who took regular, disconnected weekends reported higher creativity and clearer long-term decision-making. In other words, a century before smartphones existed, Jung had already diagnosed the exact problem we're living through today. So let's get practical. What actually happens, stage by stage, when a normal person, not a genius psychiatrist, becomes unreachable? Stage 1, the first hour. Your mind doesn't relax. It panics. Phantom vibrations. The urge to check, even with no phone in hand. This is completely normal. Psychologists call it a withdrawal response, the same pattern seen when breaking any habitual behavior. Stage 2, the first day. The panic fades into restlessness, then boredom. And boredom, Jung would say, is where the real work begins. Without a screen to fill the gaps, your mind starts wandering into memories, unresolved feelings, and questions you'd been avoiding for months. Stage 3. Days 2 to 5. This is when the shadow Jung described often appears, old guilt, buried anger, or quiet grief surfacing at last. It can feel heavy, but Jung insisted this discomfort is not a malfunction. It's the mind finally doing the work it never had time for. Stage 4, around 1 to 2 weeks. This is where most people report a striking shift, increased clarity, sharper focus, even vivid dreams. Jung believed vivid dreams during this phase are the unconscious finally getting airtime. It's normally drowned out by constant stimulation. Stage 5, weeks 2 to 4. Creativity spikes. Many people describe sudden solutions to problems they'd been stuck on for months. This matches exactly what Jung experienced at Bollingen. His best ideas rarely came from thinking harder. They came from finally going quiet. And finally, stage 6, beyond 1 month. People describe a lasting shift, a stronger sense of self that doesn't depend on outside approval. That's individuation in action, the very process Jung mapped out 100 years ago, now confirmed by people who simply put their phones down. Of course, none of this means you need a stone tower or 16 years of isolation. Even small, deliberate absences count. A single unreachable afternoon. 1 weekend a month with no notifications. Jung's message was never disappear forever. It was disappear on purpose sometimes. So here's the real question this video was building toward. What would you discover if you let yourself become unreachable, even just once? Maybe it's a shadow you've been avoiding. Maybe it's an idea you've been too busy to hear. Or maybe it's simply yourself. If this made you think, subscribe for more. Yes, and tell me in the comments, could you go 1 full day completely unreachable? Let's find out.